So today we're going to have a revision class on the basic conversation class that we had for past now probably 2 months. So today I will try and answer the doubts and questions that you have. So for those who have questions, please send the questions on the chat and I will answer those questions regarding the lesson that we have had on the basic conversation class. Our last class was on few particles that was yö, yöre, and re and yö, and hin and tuk. So that was the last class that we had. Till that point, we will consider it to be the basic Tibetan conversation class, and the test that I'm going to send in on the last class would probably be on the 14th, I think. So if it's on the 14th, then I will send the test on the either on 14th or on 15th, and then from that point onwards, you will have 1 month to complete the test, and upon which you can decide if you want to join us for the intermediate conversation class or not. So I'll begin by answering the question that was sent in the group by Petuniola. And as I continue answering these questions, if you have doubts, please send it on the chat. So today, our main objective for today and the next class that we're going to have on either 14th, I think, probably on 14th, will be to clarify doubts. So the main purpose is to clarify doubt. 2 days for doubts. Only 1 day of revision for class so we'll probably continue the grammar class. So no revision for the grammar class since we're not going to have any exams for the grammar class. So we'll continue the grammar class with the 4th grammatical case. So the 6th grammatical case. We'll be done with the 6th grammatical case. Okay, so I'll start with answering the question by Petuniola. And then as we continue, if you have questions, more and more questions, then make sure that you send in the questions and I'll answer those questions. Okay, so so let me just do the screen sharing. Okay, so the first question was, what is the function of na in these sentences? Okay, so specifically in these sentences, right? Okay, so in this particular sentence that was sent in the group, which the sentence was, it was Tep Chu Nyona Chok. Okay, so this particular statement. So we're going to, even if it's the conversation class, we're going to refer to these as statements. Okay, so Tepchu Nyona Chok. So in this particular case, in this particular context, let me translate it in English. So the translation is, it is best if I, you, he, she, they buys or buy 10 books. So this is the direct translation of the statement. So since we see that the subject of the particular sentence is not mentioned, so the thing is that here we see that someone says that it is best, meaning that they're stating the best, or in other words, it is understood to be of the best circumstance or best consequence or outcome. So in this particular case, if is an option, it shows an option, but the thing is that it is also, so in the particular context in Tibetan, we known it as, so let me write the exact usage. Which is the case of wishing or desiring or aspiring. So in some cases, aspiring. So one is aspiring. So where you say that if you do such things, if you do such thing, then it is the best. It is the best. Meaning that there is a certain amount of aspiration to do such thing because of the consequence. So these are aspiration case. Na is actually very wonderful. We have in total we have, if I'm not quoting it terribly wrong, we have 13 usage cases for na. And one of the usage cases, the case of aspiration. Then we have case of doubt, case of, so for example, doubt, interrogative due to, interrogation due to doubt, then general doubt. Then we have the, we have 5 usage case under the, we have 4 usage case under the latin, or the particle used in place of la. So the thing is that there are 13 usage cases. And one of the usage cases in this very context is the aspiration, where you aspire, where you wish something was done like this. But the thing is that aspiration could be something that has not happened. So you aspire for something to happen that has not happened, or you can aspire for something to have happened in that manner. So let me write a sentence. So in this case, we see that if you would have bought 10 books earlier, it would have been the best. So we see that in this case, same thing, aspiring, but the thing is that in this case, it's aspiring, but it's already done. So you aspire to change something that has been done. Whereas in the first case, we see that it's not done. It's more and more of a open case when it comes to the tense. So it's something that would have been done. It's something that was done, or it's something that is going to happen. So the aspiration is somewhat in both sides. But the second one, in the second statement, we see that the aspiration is to change something that was done in the past. So there's something that you want to change in the past because of something that you have done. It's saying like, it would have been better if you would have bought 10 books. So it would have, if you would have bought 10 books earlier, it would have been the best. So it could be because of many reasons. For example, if the person would have bought 9 books and had to pay like the individual prices of the books, and then with the 10 books, they had a scheme like that said, oh, if you buy 10 books, we're going to lay off like 10% of whatever you have bought. So in that case, we aspire that if it would have been done in that manner, then it would have been the best of the case. So aspiring for something that has already been done, aspiring for something that will be done, but aspiring for the better consequence, better outcome. So therefore, this is a case of wishing or aspiring. So this particular usage. But we have other 12 usage for na, which we will discuss later, not now, especially now that we're going to have a test soon. So it's better if we keep it as short as possible so that it could be a revision. Okay, now the second one is lesson 8, Tangbu Kashi Juna. Okay. So this one. So, Tangbu Kashi Juna. If I or we state some first, if first I or we state some, or firstly, let's say firstly, if I or we state some. So here, this is also somewhat of an aspiring to state something, but here more like it's not entirely aspiration. It's a in this case it's a connective particle. So what it does is that it states what it does is that it connects the commitment to the committed paragraph. So for example, when we say that Tangbu Kashi Shena, Kashi Juna, we see that je means to state, to say. So the person who's using this is committing to state something. So the particle that conjoins between the commitment and the statement, which is the committed statement, in this case, it acts as a conjunction. So let me just say conjunction, but in the more conjunction as conjoining the committed and the committed statement and the commitment. So the commitment states that first, if I state something, so it commits to state something. But then after that, it states the committed statement. So we see that the conjunction between these two things. So here it's more like conjunction. The first one, it was the aspiring case. But here it's conjunction. And there's no difference between nge or ngarang ki. It's the same. Nge and ngarang are both nga and ngarang are both pronoun, personal pronoun for I. Ngarang, nga, nge. So nge is somewhat different when we say nge, because nge is somewhat different because it's mostly used in case of both of us. So we have this particular pronoun. This one is a little different because it's used in the case where we talk about us two, like more in a context of us rather than I. But nga, ngarang. These two are same. They're both used in context for I in a personal pronoun as I, That's it. And there's no special case here where you can say that it's used for us. So ngarang, nga. And if you want to make it a possessive pronoun, then you just add you simply add the sixth the particle of sixth grammatical case, relation of the owner and the object. So here, nye and ngaranki, it's the same. So you see that it's the same in both of these cases. But this is usually used by someone who is somewhat like, for example, a lama or someone in a higher position would use the word ng. Okay, now also in some spellings you can have it with sa. If you would check it, it has also with the sa. So ng. Okay, now the fourth question is, when should we use song, chung, or chung song? So song, when you want to say, when you use it with any verb, and so verb which indicates past tense. So use it with past tense, song. So for example, if we look at it here, for example, we say so so he has already eaten his dinner. So we see that it's used to indicate past song, normally used with either used as tsar, or you can also use it without tsar. You can just say this. Shung is more like so song is more like actively stating that someone has done this, so he has done this. Whereas chung is more like observing that someone has done this, so it has to do with event occurring. So it's more like report rather than so it's more like reporting rather than speaking. It's more or less like reporting. So so yesterday, some incident occurred at this place. So this is a usage case which is more like stating an event happening, whereas the first one is the completion of a particular action in the very present moment. And then we have the chung, which is quite similar. It's not that different from chung. So song, what happened is that chung itself is a verb, which means to occur. But if it is used with another verb, then this becomes a word companion. All right? Let me just Kong hering chibulepchung, which is he arrived late. So stating an event that happened, most probably in a time that was in the past. So even the observation, both of these are observation that happened in the past. So stating in the present moment of something that happened in the past. So in both cases, we see that it has already occurred that the person is late or arrived late, or the person ate their dinner or lunch. So and the case where an event has occurred. So all of this three statement tells us that something has happened. Something has happened, and yes, so something has happened in the past. So mostly one is statement, other is report. So it's quite the same. So when we look at it, it's quite the same. One is telling that this occurred. Other one is simply a word companion. So this is a word companion, whereas this here is a verb by itself, which says occurred. But here it's a word companion. So this is more flexible. It could either act as a word companion, which indicates that something has already happened, or by its own self, it could also manifest itself as a verb. In this case, you see the second type is a verb. So both of this is possible with chung. Whereas for song, it can only be a verb when you want to say that someone has gone. And it's also an imperative order. So it's imperative and it's command if you use this. Parsonshik. You write this. Parsonshik is imperative form, command. Other than that, chung song, chung, similar, very similar. Song, word companion. So even in the case of chung song, if we would have an example. So when we say chung song, chung becomes the verb and song becomes the word companion in that case. Like here, seb is the verb, song is the word companion. Chung, sometimes it can be a verb itself, sometimes it acts as a word companion, but in the case of chung song, chung is always the verb and song is the word companion. How we translate, I think that Nye Sambala, yes, so so when we say Nye Sambala, definitely that means I think that. Can you please elaborate on this question? This fourth question that has to do, so fifth question that has to do with how we translate I think that. So can you please elaborate a little bit so that I could answer it better?
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Tashitele.
I
yes. I think my internet is very poor at the moment. I don't. Is everyone able to hear me clearly without interruption?
Yes, Kenla.
Lasso. So, okay. Then I think there is some barrier between the internet, because my internet is quite slow today. So this is something that I had to say before the class. So I'm very sorry. My internet seems very slow today. So if there is any interruption, yes. So both of us, I think, both of us have quite a terrible network today. But in any case, please write it. If you can, please write it in the chat or the class group. Lasso. Okay. In that case, we will just skip it for the moment and then answer it later. Now, is there a difference between Sheda, Hajang, Be? It's the same. Sheda, more spoken language, and Hasa, Central Tibetan dialect. So Sheda. So we say like, so let me think of an example. Te Hajang, te Sheda ya woto. Kenangi sumba te Sheda ya woto. So which means that what you have stated or said is very good. Nezu dish turba sem Sheda gason. Hearing that lasso, so we could have like, for example, if we say nezu de turba Sheda gason, which means hearing this news, I'm very happy. Nezu de turba nga be gason. I'm very happy. So same. Be Sheda. It's more like a thing to do with the region where you use it. Be is more like it's in the central dialect. It's in the Tibetan central region. But then even in the regional dialect, there are different regional dialects, which is wonderful, which tells us a lot about how these people, sorry to refer to them as third person, but yes, how the people in those region were talking. And so so Hajang is used in more of the Eastern Tibetan region. Hajang. Or if you would like to pronounce it the way in my regional dialect, we pronounce it as Hachong. Instead of Hachang, we say Hachong. But yes, so it's more in the Eastern Tibetan region. So Shida is more, it's more Hasa dialect. Yeah, Shida, which is more like the Hasa dialect. Beyawarisha, which is more like the central Tibetan dialect. And Tharingsha means samchung. Yes, samchung. Chung means awkward. Some means to think. So this here is okay. Let me write it in the screen. So, but before that, let me answer the last one. So, last question, which is Shida. Shida is more Lhasa. Gabu Shida chung. Gabu Shida chung. Or we can say Netu Tedaya was Gabu Shida chung. Hearing such wonderful news, I am very happy. So this is more like the more the Lhasa dialect. Then in the other central region, we say that which is, I'm very happy to hear that news. This news. Very good. Or then you can say, Hajangki. So, and then if you, I mean, these are more or less like the Hajang Sheta and Pe are also written in words, but out of these three, Hajang is the one that is in the written language system. But then if you want to dive in the more original dialect, then you have so many different variations. So therefore, so Sheta, Hajang. Oh, is everyone able to hear me? I don't know what had happened.
Scanla can hear you.
So Sheta, Pe, and Hajang are same. So, like I said, if you want to go even deeper into the original, yes, I will share it. So if you even want to go deeper in the original dialect, like my original, from the region where I originate, we use the term tromo. So we don't say peabudu, we say tromo yati. So it's the same, which means it's very good. So now let us go back to the screen, and then we will continue with the example that was provided. The example was let me see. The example was okay, so this is something that we already discussed. So it's here the same. It's the continuation here. Let me just Today the thought occurred, or it could say that it occurred to me that, or I thought that I should eat vegetarian today. So I thought that I should eat vegetarian today. So chung is, in this case, chung is just a word companion. So it's something that you just add in order to show that the thought that occurred already occurred in the past tense. So it's not something that is occurring to per se in the present moment. It's not something that will occur later. It's something that has already occurred. So I thought that I should eat vegetarian today. So here, chung is word companion, nothing else but word companion. Okay, so I think I have answered these questions. Okay, so so now those of you who have questions, please post it on the chat and I will answer it accordingly. You can either post it on the chat or you can send it on the class group right now, and I will continue answering those. So today we're going to talk about the doubts that you have regarding the lesson. The first lesson that was to do with greetings, I think, and then introducing yourself, asking for a person's, where the person is from, occupation, and then we had the particles. So all of this, if you have any doubt, please send it in the group. Or you can directly ask me. I mean, if your internet connection is good enough, you can directly speak and ask me the question, and I'll clarify it for you. So we had multiple. So so anything. So I think we have probably almost 20 to 20 something, almost 20 to 20 something lessons that we finished. So half of it we will do today, half of it we'll do on 14th. That's all. So any questions regarding the lessons that we already had from lesson number 1 to lesson number 10? Lesson 1 to lesson 10. Any questions? Please ask away and I will answer those so that it will clarify. And the exams, like I said, will be posted either the link, it's a link. So the exam itself is in the Google form. So it's in the Google form. So you can attempt it there. Only one attempt per student. You can attempt it anywhere in between the 1 month of the time. So questions? Okay. So we normally say Geyong. So someone who has already retired, right? We call them, or we can sometimes we don't refer to them as retiree. We refer to them as ex-worker. So surba. So either surba or we call them Geyom. Geyom means someone who has already retired because of their old age. So Geyol or Geyom, Geyol also. So let me just write it here. So Geyol means someone who has given up a certain position that they hold because now they're already too old for that position. They cannot continue, right? And then sometimes we also use this surba. Surba is not that bad for things like worker. But then there has been a new trend these days where people use the term surba with also monks, and they say it's tawa surba, which many of the people do not agree, especially in the monastery. It's not like a work that you can be an ex-worker of, you know? So, but still, these are the two words that you can use, geyul or surba. Geyul means someone who has given up, yul means now to, it's more like to avoid the work now, to not have to do the work now. And the reason is because now they're old. And surba is something that's someone that's already given a post, like the ex, we say, Mami surba is ex-military, right? Leja surba is ex-staff. So Gegen surba is ex-teacher. Okay, in what cases is the subject omitted in Tibetan? Is there any criteria? Yes, it depends on the verb. I hope that I clarified it for you, Perila. Now, Yurila, your question. In what cases is the subject omitted in Tibetan? Is there any criteria? Yes, the criteria is that the verb should be, if the verb is without the subject, then in those cases we don't have to omit the subject, obviously. In Tibetan, I'm not going to go too much in detail because I don't want to give too much information before the exams, because then you'll have to study that information before the exam and it becomes too much for every one of you. And it's not related to the exam itself. So I will be very concise and brief. Yes. So the verb in Tibetan are of two types: the verb of the subject and the verb of the object. If it's a verb of the object, then the subject may not be omitted or written at that time. But if it's a verb of the subject, then you have to write it. But then there are certain cases where you don't have to do it if the reference is taken from the previous statement. So if the reference is taken from the previous statement, then you don't have to state the subject anymore. It's understandable that you don't need to state the subject. You just say like, oh, he was trying to do this. And then you say that this was done. So when you say this was done, you don't have to have the subject. Like, let me go back to the screen. So, and also in the command, if it's a imperative command, you don't have to mention the subject. So in this type of sentence, 당부 가시주나. We know that the one who is going to state this, so to state is an action, but the one who is going to state it is the narrator. So if it's an action that is done by the narrator, we already know that know who is doing the action, so we don't have to state the subject in this case. Very sorry. So here we see that here the statement is done by the narrator, and it's done towards the second person listener. So both the first person and the second person knows who is the person that is buying the books. So in that case, we don't state the subject. When it's already definite by the earlier reference or earlier statement, there's no need to state the subject again. So in those cases, I hope this clarifies it. What could be the answer to kerang kungkam sangam? Then you can say you can most probably say nga debohin. That would be the answer. So you wouldn't say nga kungkam sangbohins, because that would be using honorifics to your own self. So it will be honorifics. We never use honorifics for self. We have already discussed that in the previous classes. We said that for self, humilifics. If you really want to make, if you really want to give respect to the listener by further stating statements which makes you more modest, then in those cases you can use humilifics. But to self, you cannot use honorifics for self. Very special cases, if you're like some sort of lama, then there are cases where you can use those honorifics, like nge. Nge is a honorific term, but then you can use that pronoun if you're like a lama. A very famous example is the book by His Holiness, My Land and My People, where he says, nge kimita, nge kimima, where he states that nge kimita, nge kimima. But that is a case where you can do that. Other than that, you don't use honorifics. Very rarely do you use it, and if you use it, mostly when you are in the position of being a lama, you do that, and it has certain type of purposes for doing such things. So in those cases, you use honorifics. But if you say kirang kukam sangam, you say nga kukam nga deboy. Sorry, so nga deboy. So this is a trick that we used to use. We used to do with the small children here. What we do is that those who are freshly learning Tibetan, we tease them because sometimes they don't think before answering. They would just listen to the question and then they would answer it accordingly. So then we would say things like "Kena shela chweta imbe," and they would answer "Nga shela chweta," and that would be very funny because they would be using honorifics for themselves, you know. So but in any case, you don't use honorifics for yourself. You say "Kena kukam sangam la nga debohin." So you say la nga debohin. So let me just write this answer. La nga debohin. So la is a way to acknowledge that you have heard it. Normally people would also use but that's more casual. Instead, you use something that's more respectful. You say la, which is like I acknowledge that I've heard what you are saying. So la nga debohin. Yes. Oh, okay. I am fine. So this is how you answer this. Lasso. I hope this clarifies it.
Can là con tập thiếu trịch yue.
Lasso yin等于
Can là
Lasso.
can I say ngã can yung check ba ye. I have retired.
So you say that in that case, if you want to say that I'm retired, right?
La.
So you have to say nge geyu shuta. So it means that I have already submitted my retirement. In that way, you can use geyu. You can say nge geyu shuta. So you cannot say geyu che. So you say it's nge geyu shuta. It's something like I have submitted my retirement already. And by that, you infer that you are now, by that, the person who listens infer and understand that, oh, now that the person who said this is retired because they have already submitted their retirement. So instead of saying nga geyu chains, you have to say nga geyu shuta. Let me write this here. Nga geyu shuta. So nge geyu shuta means I have already submitted my retirement, meaning that retirement proposal, meaning that right now I'm already retired. Or if you want to say that I am a retiree by some work that you, for example, which means I am the ex-staff member, by which you infer that you are already retired. So it's more like you don't say that in Tibetan. It's more like saying that you have submitted retirement rather than saying that you are retired. So it's more like to infer that you are retired instead of directly stating that you are retired.
Lasso tu chena.
Lasso. Lasso hintai. So any more questions? Any more questions regarding till the lesson 10? And be very careful. This thing that has to do with the honor effect, right? It sometimes just slips from the tongue. Like you don't want to say it. You don't have the intention to say it, but sometimes it just slips. And normally in a very formal setting, it's quite embarrassing, but embarrassment is something that depends on how you think about it. But still, it's something that's very funny also. Sometimes it's a very funny thing to do. Sometimes it can be used as an icebreaker. Sometimes I do when I teach some of my students. When they're very new, I do some of these things in order for them to break their ice so that we could have a good conversation. So if you're doing it intentionally with those kind of things, reasons, definitely you can do that. But sometimes it just slips. Sometimes you just don't have any justification. It just slips. You just don't think about how you're going to answer it. And then some person just asks you out of the blue, like, can I, so for example, like there was, can I yar pep sign best? Have you gone up there? Like, for example, if you were to go to the main office up there, then you say, oh, not pep signs. It means so you see that it slips from the tongue. So please, one must be very careful. It's nothing that it's not something that's like, it's not something that's like bad, but it's something that's not according to the rules. That's it. It's not something that's very serious or something. You can definitely say that if you really want to say it. Like it's not like a forbidden rule, but it's something that doesn't work well with the language and the nature of Tibetan people. We tend to lower ourselves as much as for every opportunity that we have. We try to possess the lower ground. So that's the mentality, to be down to earth. So that comes from that.
Yeah, so for the other people, chepare is for honorific, and for self is shupaing. Is that right?
So shu is a humilific, actually. So what shu means that to request. It's a word that means to request. So submit in a way to request. So instead of saying I have submitted it, it's more like I have requested the submission and the approval of my retirement. So it's humilific. Shuba is humilific. Laba is to say. So that's not humilific. But if you request someone, that's shuba. So it's humilific. So it's not. If someone else also does it, you use the word shuba, because that's kongite ninshu di shu sons, nyegi ninshu di shu is, ngansue ninshu di shuba is. So less so. So any more questions regarding the lessons that we had till lesson number 10? So any questions till lesson number 10? So does anyone have questions till lesson number 10? You can ask it, you can write it down here. I'm going to make it a little easier for every one of you. I hope this is a little easier. That is that we will not have the memorization in test now. So we won't have the memorization of the text in the test of the Lokchung Tai and Chiba Tai. But in an indefinite time, we might just have an oral test for the, we might just have a sort of a viva, person-to-person viva on the Chibe Tai. So please keep that in mind also. We are not going to have it now, but in an undetermined time and date, we might have it. Okay, so any more questions? Does anyone have any more questions regarding the lesson till lesson 1, from lesson 1 to lesson 10? If not, then I'm going to start asking questions, because we have to do something, right? Either you ask me questions or I ask you questions. Then we'll have more questions out of that. Lesson. Then question number 1. Okay, so question number 1. So those who know the answer, please answer it. You can answer it. So the first question is, what is the more formal way of asking someone's name? What is the more formal way of asking someone's name? So who wants to answer? What is the more formal way of asking for someone's name? So what is the more formal way of asking? The more casual way is to say Kerangi Min Kangis. And then with honorific, it is Kerangi Tsian Kangis, right? But what is the more casual way of asking it? For example, we're in a, yes?
Kerangi Chen Sangpo Kari Inam.
Wonderful. So Kerangi Tsian Sangpo Kari Inam. So what is your name, or what is your good name? Kerangi Tsian Sangpo Kari Inam. So we have it here. Let me just do it. Kerangi Tsian Sangpo Hang In Nam or Kare In Nam. Both of this is correct. Kerangi Tsian Sangpo kare in nam. So both of these are something that is correct. You can either say kang or you can say kare. And kare is another way of stating kangre. So both of these are correct. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so now the second question. How would you greet someone for the Nobel Peace Prize Day? How would you greet someone saying Happy Nobel Peace Prize Day or happy 33rd anniversary of the acceptance of Nobel Peace Prize by His Holiness? So how would you say that? How would you say this? So let me just write the Tibetan here. Or should I write it here? Okay, I'll just write it here. So you'll know that how to refer to the day. Okay, so this is the occasion. Nobel Shide Singta Nimo. So Nobel Shide Singta Nimo. Now you have to greet someone on this day. How would you greet someone on this day?
Can I use Tashitele? Because in some dictionary, Tashitele also translate as congratulations.
Yes, Tashitele, definitely. So we already discussed that Tashitele is means auspiciousness. So congratulations comes with auspiciousness, right? So yes, you can use Tashitele. So how would you say it? Congratulations on the Nobel Peace Prize Day, on the Nobel Peace Prize Day. Yes, so this is the day, and then you have to congratulate. How would you congratulate someone? Anyone? Does anyone want to try?
Nope, she te setok nimo la Tashitele.
Wonderful. So Nobel Shite Singta Nimor Tashitele. So Nobel Shite Singta Nimor Tashitele, which means congratulations on, or Tashitele, greetings to you on the Nobel Peace Prize Day. Wonderful. So this is how we greet. Okay, so what is the usage of the word ye? So define the usage of the word. Explain the usage of the word ye. How do we use ye? So does anyone want to try ye? How do you use ye?
For helping verb.
For
Helping verb.
So what is the type of subject which you use with ye?
First person.
Only first person?
And second person.
And in what type of situation do you use the ye? What is the usage of ye?
Present.
So to show what?
Present. Katawa.
Katawa. Okay, so make a sentence. Can you make a sentence with ye?
Nga thản ta kala sa xin yu.
Wonderful. Nga tata kala sa xin yu. Can you please say this in English, the same sentence?
I'm having it now.
I'm having food now, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Lasso. Very wonderful. Thank you, Vanilla. So this is yu. And then the other usage of yu is to show the possession, right? That someone possessed something. So, kola kangba ni yu. Ngala kangba, kongla kang, kola, kyola kangba ni yu. Ngala kangba ni yu. You have 2 legs, I have 2 legs. So to show a possession. And then another one is to show the position of something, right? Menkanti Chongkir Tela Yu. This hospital is at that town or city. So it shows the position. Okay, so last question for today's revision class. And after that, a small announcement about the class that of the classes that we'll have afterwards, after this basic conversation class. So last question. What is the difference between duk and yöre? The difference between duk. Yes, please.
Duk, this is the ending you put if you are sure that you saw by your own, and yöre, it's ordinary process.
So more like general statement, right? And in some cases, it's also assumption. Yöre. Lasso, can you please make a sentence for yöre?
Nala Shedrala Dro Yore, correct?
So nga
Shedrala.
So you used with the subject nga, right?
Yeah.
How can
yeah, so I'm going to school, so I'm attending the school.
Yes, you're attending the school in Shedra, right? This is what you mean when you say. But then how can this become an uncertain statement or not a confirmed statement?
Not confirmed.
So we know that yöre is used in the cases that we haven't confirmed a case by a confirmational statement. Like yö and duk are both confirmational statement that we have already discussed, but yöre is a confirmation. It's a confirmation by assumption that we have already discussed. So how can it be a confirmation by assumption if it is referring to I?
No, can't answer. Maybe.
So you can say nga shetra la troki yö, right? Which means that I am going
without
to shetra without re, right? Then it becomes a confirmational statement where you have confirmed that I'm going. Now, if I say that kong shetra la troki yöre, meaning that he is going to Shetra, but now here I don't have the entire information. So some of the things I'm assuming here, like I can say that Kong Shetra la Trukire, Kayisena, kasang ko kshetra letu. Because he was at the kshetra yesterday, he is going at kshetra. But the thing is that I have not confirmed this today. I've seen him yesterday, but then I have not confirmed that he's studying at kshetra, but I have just confirmed that he was at kshetra. But just being at kshetra doesn't mean that you study here. You could be visiting someone at kshetra, isn't it? So therefore, you don't have the entire 100% information about this case, so it becomes assumption in some way. For example, if I say, someone asks, Tashi's at home. Where should he go? There's nowhere he has to go today. So for example, if it was Sunday, then we could say that since it's already holiday today, so he doesn't have to go to school. So he has not asked me. So for example, if it was like the father, then the father could say, since he didn't ask me for permission to go to play outside, or he didn't tell me that he was going outside to play, then I assume that he's inside. But did I go and check and see that he was there inside? No, I'm just assuming on all of the things that I have at this very moment with me. So therefore, here is somewhat assumption also. And many a times we also use assumption because it's a statement that's mostly correct, and it doesn't take the effort to confirm it. So assumption statements are very useful in those cases. So for example, for some things that you don't have to be 100% sure, but most probably is something that you have already predicted or already stated, then you can just use those in order to avoid making it a confirmed statement by physically confirming it, going somewhere and then confirming it. So these statements are very useful. And then also for general statement, you don't exactly know that a situation is like this at this very moment, but generalizing it, what it does is that it saves you both the effort and time to go and confirm it at this very moment. You could do it later. So for the current moment, you just state a generalized statement in order to avoid going there and confirming it by physically going at some place. So in those cases, assumptions and general statements are very useful. And many a times, if it's not something that really and most necessarily needs a confirmation, these statements are quite useful statements. So according to what we have discussed, I have categorized Yode as generalized statement and assumption statements. So yes.
I can confirm, and I know that somebody stay in India, or so I can say Kong Yagala Dogi Duk, because I know he stays in India.
Yes, Kong Yagala Dogi Duk or Kong Yagala Yu. So two of these statements are correct. So with Yu or with Duk. Both of these are confirmational statements. So this is something that we must understand, that both Yu and Duk are confirmational statements. Lasso. So does anyone have questions? Any questions now? If not, then we are done with the revision till lesson 10. And you can go through those so for these lessons, the materials are available on Google Drive. You can go then and check and see, and then you can access those files there. And then you also have the PDFs and everything. So, and then if you have any doubts that you have that you need to clarify, you can directly ask it in the group. The group is asking in the group has its vice, that is that everyone understands it afterwards. most probably everyone understands it. So it's a very beneficial thing to do. Or you can directly ask me. That is also wonderful. Sometimes if it's a question that has already been asked in the group, and if you still need more clarification, you can directly ask me. So both of these are wonderful. So you can ask me and I'll clarify it. Like, so this is something that I will say that until I have posted the exam, I will be very active on the group. That means that I will spend a majority of time looking at your answers and answering them instantly now until we are done, and until I have posted the exams. I will be active. I will answer your questions in a matter of few minutes. If it takes long, few minutes. If not, I will instantly answer your questions if you have any doubts and post it in the class group. So this is something that I will do until I have posted the exams, just to make sure, just to help you with your revisions. Lasso, so any questions? Any more questions? Lasso. So if there's no question, so a small announcement regarding the class, the way the classes are going to go. So this is something that was already planned before the announcement of the basic conversation class. So we have already decided for 3 weeks of holiday so the last class would be at 14th, but we will officially begin the holiday from 18th for the class for 3 weeks from 18th. We won't have any class from 18th till probably. So I will post the date and announcement for the next class that is going to be after the basic conversation class. So this is something that you must decide for yourself. So the class that will be after this. So when I say after this, I mean the class of basic conversation class. The class that we will have is something called the Dharma vocabulary class. Yes, 12. Okay. So from December 18th to the January 10th. So the class that we will have after this, after which I mean the Dharma vocabulary, the basic conversation class, will not be the lower intermediate conversation class. No, we will have another class that is called the Dharma vocabulary class, in which for 1 month or duration of 1 month, we're going to introduce. So we're just going to first decide. So I will send this form, this Google form, where you have to vote. And according to the vote, we will decide which text we're going to do the first. So there are 3 texts that I have particularly thought would be good. The first one is the Heart Sutra. The second one would be, the second one is the Manjushri name that I have already posted in the group. And the final one is the Eightfold Mind Practice. So these 3 texts, and I will also send the Google form where you can decide on which text you want to go first. And then we're not going to do anything that has to do with the explanation of the text or anything. No, we're only going to learn the vocabulary. So we'll take out one vocabulary. We'll find its origin in Tibetan. We'll take one word from the text in Tibetan. We'll find its origin in the Sanskrit, and we'll try to explain it. So it's more like an etymology class where you study the origin of these words, where it comes from, how you have to understand them when they come in the text in the most generalized way, and a little bit of explanation on what it is. So those who would like to join in, so the criteria is you have to understand a little bit of Tibetan. So those who have already joined the basic conversation class can join that class also. But the more important thing is about the aspiration. If you want to join, you can join it. So this is the more important criteria for that. It will be for 1 month. So most probably I'm thinking about finishing 2 of the text, but if not possible, we'll just finish 1. And So this is something that I thought would be taught about the about the Dharma vocabulary class, and alongside we will continue. So the last class of the grammar class for the year 2022 will be